Wall Street Journal. The Senate confirmation race. Donald Trump set a speed record naming his cabinet. Will the Senate match his pace in what's become a crawling appointment process? Kim Strassel wrote that, and she joins me now. Kim, Trump wants to hit the ground running, get his cabinet in fast. Will Senator Schumer, play the spoiler?
Well, Stuart, first of all, by the way, congratulations, and this must be said, you have not aged a day. That's the most important thing.
Flattery. Thank you, Kim.
No, I'm good at it. Look, Chuck Schumer, by the way, he's only a small piece of this. We need, as a nation, to have a conversation about the appointment process. What is rightly a very serious job that the Senate has, advice and consent, has really turned into this Mount Everest of bureaucracy and obstruction by whoever the minority party is. We have 1,300 political appointees that have to be confirmed by the Senate. It's a stunning number. And Democrats have an ability to slow down every one of those if they so choose, whether it's through committee or on the floor of the Senate. So Chuck Schumer is going to let a few of these guys go through in the beginning as sort of like, yeah, pat on the back, good thing you won. Marco Rubio will be one. But they have the ability to slow this to a crawl if they really want to.
Next one, Kim. Senator Bernie Sanders and Trump's Treasury Secretary nominee, Scott Bessent, they went head-to-head over President Biden's oligarchy comments.
What Biden said last night is we're moving toward an oligarchy. I'm asking you that question. Do you think, forget how they made their money, do you think that when so few people have so much wealth and so much economic and political power, that that is an oligarchic form of society?
Well, I would note that President Biden gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to two people who I think would qualify for his oligarchs.
Nice comeback, I gotta say. Sanders specifically called out tech billionaires Musk and Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. That too was during Bessett's hearing. Got it. Now, are these billionaires, are they robber barons, Kim? Or is Bernie just steam that they're supporting Trump?
Well, look, the definition of an oligarchy, Stu, can I just note, is a small group of people who control a government. You can find that in a textbook definition. If I need to remind Bernie Sanders, the guy who's about to run the country was elected through America's amazing electoral system with the Electoral College. The people who he is naming to run his departments are going through our checks and balances with advice and consent through the Senate. That's who's running the government. He can call them an oligarch if he wants, but I would note, and this gets to Scott Bessent's point, nobody had an issue with wealthy people in the Democratic Party so long as those wealthy people were kissing the Democratic ring. Yeah. It's only when they decide or dare to support Republicans do they suddenly get slapped with pejoratives like oligarchy.
We should remember that these billionaires, who are indeed close to Trump now, they have created America's crown jewels of business. They've created American supremacy in technology in almost all of its forms. But Bernie is just steamed that they've got a lot of money. I mean, we're typical socialist, I guess, right, Kim?
Well, and that's the other thing, too, Stu, as an oligarchy, too. I mean, one way that we think about it is that often it was applied to Russia, where formerly state-owned property was sold off into the private sector, so-called, and certain people who were insiders benefited from that. That is not how any of these individuals have made their money in America's amazing, beautiful capitalist system. And Bernie Sanders knows this. I mean, there's wealth disparity. There always has been. People with wealth often have some influence. There always has been. Again, it's a double standard of when Democrats are okay with that wealth and that influence.
Got it. Kim Strassel, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for being part of the program all these years.
You too. Thanks, Stuart.